This is going to be a long video, but it's worth listening to. There's a lot of liberals and people on this app that hate what Trump is doing. They don't like it. But respectfully, I need you to consider the following. See, when millions of liberals were ushered in through the southern border, you guys said nothing. You guys just let it happen. And they left millions of dollars, abandoned millions of dollars in military equipment in Afghanistan. You didn't say anything. When they went ahead and flaunted a 2-tier justice system. It was one for them, one for everybody else. You didn't say anything. Remember when they passed that $1 trillion infrastructure bill and it failed miserably? You didn't say anything. Or how about when they forced Americans to get when they didn't need it? You didn't say anything. That was an untested vaccine, but nothing. When inflation crushed the middle class, you said nothing. Absolutely nothing. When they sent billions to Ukraine, you said nothing. Remember when the chemicals polluted the water in East Palestine? Also in Ohio, and you ignored it. Americans were raped, robbed, murdered by illegals. You didn't say anything. And when they put Kamala Harris there by design, without one vote, they just implemented her there. She was placed. You didn't say anything. And you can't forget about George Soros, the billionaire that funded a bunch of AG elections. Again, you said nothing. When they turned our classrooms into liberal indoctrinated camps, you said nothing. You thought that was okay. And remember when they spent our tax dollars on inmate trans surgeries? You said nothing. Remember Hawaii? The fires? $700 a family? That's all they got. You guys said they'd get more and they didn't. You said nothing. They went ahead and gave 5-star hotels money, food to illegals. You said nothing. You defended it. When DEI freaking weakened our military, that put our national security at risk. And you said nothing. You said nothing. And they colluded with the media and pushed false reports out there. You said nothing. You just let it happen, even though you knew it was fake. And it was open season on law enforcement and criminals reign. You said nothing. You let the bureaucrats take over the White House and run the government. And you said nothing. You guys covered up Joe Biden's mental state. Didn't say a word, let him run our country. And said nothing. And you groomed our kids in school and hid it from the parents. You said nothing. When the drug epidemic exploded and thousands died, you said nothing. When they accosted the Jews on their campuses, you said nothing. And when they weaponized the intelligence agencies against Americans, you said nothing. When they let men play women's sports, you said nothing. You thought that was okay. When they chanted "Death to America" and burned our flag, you said nothing. You said it was free speech. Remember when they shut down our energy production and emboldened Russia? You said nothing. When the crime rates in American cities raised, you said nothing. Thousands and thousands of veterans were sleeping in the streets, and you just walked by them and say nothing. 3,000 migrant children went missing, and nobody had a clue. Where'd they go? You said nothing. When Joe Biden pardoned his friends and family, you said nothing. You said good. When men were celebrated for being women and going into women's locker rooms, you said good. You said nothing. We can't forget the Chinese balloon that flew over America. Was that okay? You guys said nothing. Remember the 50 agents who lied to Barry Hunter's laptop? They put it as Russia disinformation. You guys ignored that, didn't you? Or when American citizens were being held in Gaza. They were being held there a year. They were hostages. You said nothing. When Facebook admitted they conspired with the Biden administration to hide the truth or censor the truth. You didn't say anything. Remember when they cleaned the streets in San Francisco for Xi Jinping? You didn't say anything. Remember when Fauci was caught in the COVID-19 virus lies? You said nothing. Or when they sealed the January 6th Commission files, lost them. You said nothing. You guys saw all of this and turned a blind eye to it. There's so much more. I just don't have time for it. But you wonder why the right is mad at the left. Because you guys don't care about America. Because if you did, you wouldn't have turned your head on all those important facts. I hope you're proud of yourselves. Leave Trump alone. Let him do his job. Enough is enough. We the people have spoken.